The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
She is wearing what we believe this young lady was wearing about the time that she was last seen. Light blue pajama shorts, if you will, and a dark colored top. And so we're asking anybody, again, with any information to please give us a call. The theories that we're working upon run the whole gamut of possibilities. You know, we do have, unfortunately, some indications of suicidal ideations from this young lady in the past. We do know that there was some depression issues in the past with a young person that age, or even a not-so-young person who leaves their cell phone behind, right? It's unheard of. But she left behind the cell phone.
A teen in Texas mysteriously vanishes on Christmas Eve morning. The search is ongoing as video may be shedding light as to what happened to Camila Olmos. And as the community is searching for answers, questions about the teenager's mental health are coming up. We'll talk about what it could mean for the investigation. Plus, he says he doesn't remember a thing. We're spotlighting the stepbrother suspect in the murder of teenager Anna Kepner. Newly released text messages between the parents are now being revealed. Plus, defendant Sarah Grace Patrick gearing up for her trial. Her mental health evaluation still pending. So we'll talk about how that could tip the scales of justice. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. It's wonderful to have you with us this morning on this New Year's Eve. It is. We put together a great show for you, so let's get it started, my friends, as we always do. I'm going to have you grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Lying in wait. That's the most sinister way one can carry out a murder. It's predatory behavior, timing an attack just right on an innocent person who's unsuspecting. That's sick. Lying in wait is what investigators say that mother Ashley Buzzard did when they say she premeditated the shooting of her 9-year-old daughter, Melody. Lying in wait is legally what prosecutors in California have charged as a special circumstance in this murder indictment. If that's true, it makes what this sorry excuse for a mother allegedly did even worse. An ambush attack with a firearm on a 9-year-old child. Think about that. And what's more, Melody Buzzard was shot multiple times, and those shots were put in her head. This was an unspeakable, dastardly act. And all the more reason that this defendant ought to face the death penalty if she committed this crime. I sure hope that either the state of Utah or the federal government steps in and pursues it. Because what happened to Melody Buzzard, being shot multiple times in the head with a 9mm firearm by somebody lying in wait, is unconscionable. And the punishment should fit the crime. That's my opening statement on the Melody Buzzard case. Let me know if you like it.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself.
Oh, Mama Donna, her crying during her verdict in her murder trial. I know you remember that. Well, today on Court TV Live, we're bringing you the top moments from 2025. So where did that moment fall in your countdown? Where did it fall in ours? We're going to find out together. Maybe it didn't even make the list. I feel like it would have to make the list. We'll find out this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Right now, though, here on Opening Statements, we're turning to your top story. I'm sure you're hearing about this case. A teenager in Texas vanishes on Christmas Eve. And some new video may show Camila Olmos right before she went missing. The 19-year-old was last seen leaving her home in Bexar County, Texas, in the early morning hours of December 24th. The sheriff's office there says that she normally goes out on a walk, but her mom started to get concerned when she didn't come home. Authorities believe that she's in imminent danger, and they're not ruling out kidnapping or trafficking. The sheriff's office is asking for the community's help in the search efforts.
What we're asking is, once again, folks from the community, if you've got any surveillance camera video, or if you've got a surveillance camera that maybe you haven't had an opportunity to check up until this point, please make it a point to look. Again, the last video that we have is about 7 a.m. Christmas Eve morning.
The sheriff's office released new video that you see here on your screen. This is from a driver. This shows some visuals of somebody resembling the teenager at around 7 a.m., and that was on Christmas Eve morning. So this could possibly be the last sighting of Camila Olmos. Here's some more about what we know about her. The last time she was seen, she was wearing baby blue pajama shorts and a black and blue North Face sweater with white shoes. The only items that she had on her were her car keys and possibly her driver's license. This is all according to investigators who are working this case. They say that her cell phone and her car were left behind at her house. So, how does this young lady go missing? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in two incredibly seasoned investigators. Private investigator Manuel Gomez and retired NYPD detective and the co-host of the Gold Shield show, Tom Smith. Good morning to you both. Tom, let me begin with you, please. Your insights. How do you think this young lady vanished?
Yeah, you know what, Julie, when you have cases like this, investigators have to keep a completely open mind into every possibility with this because there's no viable lead yet. You know, so you have to look into the possibility of an abduction, self-harm, or just a runaway. You know, all of those are going to be taken into consideration because right now there's no direct lead into any of those. So investigators have to keep an open mind into everything. As much as what's being said about a possible, you know, mental breakdown or whatever history she may have, you can't just rely on that. You have to go in a variety of ways until there's something really to nail down.
Yeah, great insight, Tom. Manuel, let me turn to you next. Your thoughts on her just seemingly to vanish without a trace?
Well, I agree completely with Tom. You know, there are no solid leads right now, but the main evidence that we need here is the digital footprint. Her iPad, her cell phone, her laptop. Doing the forensic on that, retrieving the deleted texts, and that's the key thing. Retrieving any deleted emails and messages will show what she was doing. Professionally, I feel that she was groomed because no 19-year-old girl, Julie, leaves her cell phone on the bed, uncharged, and then walks out the door in underwear, in pajama bottoms and a hoodie to go for a walk. I'm sorry. This tells me it has the earmarks of somebody meeting up with her and possibly grooming. And this area, Julie, is infamous and notorious for sex trafficking. So, yeah. Do I think she's a victim of that? Unfortunately, Julie, if we didn't find her within the first 96 hours, the chances of finding her alive are very poor. But I'm glad that the community is out there in force, Julie, looking for her hard. And I really pray that they find her.
Yeah, we do too, Manuel. Thank you. And I want to really zero in on that point you just made, an excellent one about this young lady not taking a cell phone if she did have a plan to leave the house. We have a clip. This is from ABC News. They interviewed one of Camila Olmos' friends. Take a listen to what that friend said.
It's been very out of the normal.
It's not like her. She's always been the one to always stalk on us and like, why aren't you doing this?
To make sure that her phone's always charged.
Yeah, phone's always with her, according to this friends, to your point, Manuel. Tom, tell us what you think about that, the fact that the phone was left behind. How key is that?
Yeah, Manuel is 100% right. There isn't a 19-year-old that doesn't have that as part of their body. And going by their friends, it's just very odd, and that has to be keyed on. But as Manuel said, the digital footprint is going to be important. Who she talked to, who her friends were talking to, who in common they all talk to. All that is what's going to be key in this. And getting her picture out there to every conceivable spot to make sure everyone has a photo of her somewhere, because she has to get from point A to point B and maybe to point C. So the more her pictures are out there, the better chance of maybe someone recognizing her are.
Yes, dovetailing off of that point, Tom, pictures of her, video. Manuel, I'm wondering if we can assume these investigators are already knocking on every door in that neighborhood to see if anybody has Ring doorbell footage to give them. Oh, we just lost Manuel's signal. Tom, if you're still with you, I can see you. Manuel's signal's frozen. Tom, if you'll take that question for me. Do you think that we can assume they're canvassing the area and asking neighbors for whatever footage they may have?
No doubt about it. You know, that's the age that we're in, the digital age that we're in, and people having cameras everywhere. Stores, businesses, you know, private homes. You have to, you know, knock on those doors and get that video footage because they have a starting point. That's the good thing about this. They know where she started off from, so you can now track it, especially with that one car frame and the video of her walking. Now you can really start to piece things together, and hopefully there's some more video footage of her.
Well, this is so fascinating. Tom, you know I'd love to pick your brain. So when you said we have a starting point, so in other cases you worked, so you have not. And so this is a good thing perhaps for investigators that they have one point in which to begin that search, the canvas, whatever you may call it, to try to, you know, rule out any place in the immediate area where she may be.
Oh, no doubt about it. Because when you don't know where something started, now you have to work backwards into finding a starting point. With this, you don't have to. You know, it started at her home, but they need to go through her room, any notes, any notebooks, any, you know, videos that she might have done. All of that needs to be part of this investigation on top of numerous interviews of her parents, her friends, her teachers, of anything that was said in a conversation, anyone she brought up in a conversation that she might have met recently. All of that is going to play into this.
Yes, Detective Tom Smith from the Gold Shields show. Thank you. Great insight. We're going to keep talking about it. We just have to hit our first break of the hour. So friends at home, don't go anywhere. Get some more coffee. We're going to continue our coverage of this missing teenager in Texas. And we're going to zero in on her mental health and whether this should be a consideration for the case investigators. Plus, we're shining a spotlight on the cruise ship death of Anna Kepner. Her stepbrother says he doesn't remember a thing.
With the teenagers across the hall, did you ever go in and check on them?
No, I had went to sleep.
Do you know if Christopher went across the hall to check on them?
Not that I know of.
Do you know if he ever left the room that night on that Thursday night?
I never seen him leave the room.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Welcome back. We continue talking about the case that's trending with missing teenager Camila Olmos. Federal authorities joining the search, investigators looking into how her mental health could be a factor. The 19-year-old missing since Christmas Eve. Authorities cannot rule out anything at this point in the investigation, even her past struggles with depression.
We do have, unfortunately, some indications of suicidal ideations from the young lady in the past. We do know that there was some depression issues in the past. But as a young person, what young person doesn't have bouts of depression at a certain point? So we can't necessarily afford to just say, oh, well, that must be what it is. We've got to consider all possibilities, from disappearing willfully to the possibility of self-harm. So somebody may have taken her. Maybe, you know, after this video, somebody may have taken her. So we've got to consider all possibilities at this point. Unfortunately for us, we can't start narrowing that down until some evidence takes us to that, and we're not there yet.
So let's take a look at what we know about Camila Almo so far. The sheriff's office says she recently went through a breakup, but there's no evidence of anything nefarious. Sheriff also confirms that Almos was not detained by ICE, but acknowledges that her no longer being in the country is a possibility here. Investigators say that the only items known to be on her were her car keys and possibly her driver's license. She left her cell phone and her iPad behind. There is some reporting that she had the past struggles with depression that we, of course, want to focus on here in this portion of the segment. Let me bring in Manuel Gomez. We got his signal working again, and forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman, and talk about whether this information about her having some mental health difficulties should be a factor here for the investigators. Dr. Carol, what say you when you heard this reporting about her having some difficulties in the past?
Yes, well, you know, I don't want to believe it, but it is looking like that could well be the answer, you know, what happened. And there are a number of reasons why. I mean, of course, the fact that she was depressed in the past, and there are reports that she performed some kind of self-harm. I haven't been able to find what specifically, but, you know, that is a predictor of future self-harm. But also, when she was talking to her best friend, she said, bye, I love you. And when she was talking to her father the last time for each of these, she said to him, bye, I love you. Now, if that's sort of her normal way of saying goodbye to them, then that isn't really very significant. But that is often what somebody will say. There's kind of a chilling feeling that you get when you think about that.
Mm-hmm. Right, Dr. Carroll. So I guess the question would be, would that be normal for her? You know, I have some friends, every time I speak to them, we say, I love you, and we hang up the phone. You know, it's just what we do, and same with all my family, right? But if that's unusual, that's a great point. Manuel, talk to me about how much of a consideration investigators are giving her mental health.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot going towards that. But again, I'm very cautious about going down that road. All right. Granted, does she have any past depression issues? Of course. But what young teenager at that time doesn't? She just broke up with a boyfriend not too long ago, so of course she was a little down. But the reason why I disagree that it's not a mental health issue and that she didn't go out there and kill herself is because, one, she took her driver's license. If I'm going to go kill myself, am I going to be thinking about, well, let me take my driver's license and my keys? I'm going to need that. No. You're just going to walk out and go do it. That's one. Two, this is an extremely beautiful girl who just broke up, was very social media active. There's no doubt in my mind, the way she walked out that house, grabbing the license, grabbing the keys, is a strong indicator that she went out to meet someone, Julie. And that's why she was walking. And that footage that you're showing right now of her going down the road, I hope the cops go back, retrieve the entire video system of that car, because there's no doubt in my mind it'll most likely show her going to some kind of car. No doubt in my mind. Or a car waiting in the further down the road. So again, my professional opinion is I don't think she killed herself. I believe she's a victim of sex trafficking, and unfortunately, this is common in that area.
Such sharp insight, Manuel. When you said the driver's license, taking that a means of identifying oneself, would that be to another person, perhaps? Dr. Carroll, one taking their driver's license and car keys to commit suicide, if that were the case here, we don't know. Your thoughts on those things?
Well, you know, yes. What your other guest was saying, certainly that does point in the other direction. And I certainly hope that it, well, I mean, you know, which is worse, being sex trafficked or suicide. At least sex trafficked, you have a hope that you can be returned. But, you know, there's also another little wrinkle in here, which is when they say that she had an amicable breakup with her boyfriend. Well, you know, for most girls, 19-year-old girls, breakups aren't amicable. There is some pain connected with it. And there was an interview with someone who was her boyfriend, although they haven't said exactly when he was her boyfriend, whether he was the one that she broke up with or he broke up with her. This is Carlos Mendoza. I mean, no, I'm sorry, Carlos. Sorry, Nathan Gonzalez. And he is really being very, very helpful to the police. And he posted on social media pictures of the two of them in very romantic kinds of settings, you know, positions, smiling and things like that. And I don't know. There's just something about that it could be totally innocent, but there's just something about that seems a little too, like perhaps he's feeling guilty because he broke up with her, if he was the one, or guilty because he did do something nefarious to her. I don't know, but it just seems totally out of it seems it's like a strange part of the picture, and there really hasn't been much reported on it.
Yeah, we'll have to dig into that, Dr. Carroll. We don't have any reporting here in Court TV, here at Court TV on that. We'll have to research it further. Thank you. You know, just speaking generally, Manuel, even if there is a, an quote-unquote amicable breakup, as an investigator, do you go to vet that individual and information gatherer in any case?
Absolutely. I mean, the boyfriend is one of my top, unfortunately, suspects that I would check. That's the first thing. And besides the digital footprint with all her, cell phones, the iPad, and, any electronic devices she had. But in a case like this, like I said, the fact that he's coming out, the fact that he's showing pictures, the fact that he's so proactive, I don't feel that it's him. I do feel that this is a sex trafficking case. And Julie, I want to give a potential solution. To find this girl, one of the steps you need to take, and this is what I do when I do missing persons, you take a 50-mile radius, make sure you put up pictures on every gas station, laundromat, everywhere. Put a GoFundMe, raise the funds to get a big type of reward to release her. Remember, sex traffickers are about one, money making. We put a $25,000, $100,000 reward for her, they will consider on releasing her. There's no doubt in my mind that this beautiful young angel was most likely sex trafficking. It is too many indicators showing that. The driver's license, the keys, the phone on the bed, all these things are indicators of she went out to meet somebody, show herself. Like you said, Julie, there's no doubt in my mind. This girl, if I had to bet my license on it, is she's sex trafficking.
Excellent insight. And what you're sharing, Manuel, this is great information for any case. As you both know, you and Dr. Carroll know, we have viewers all over the world who watch our programs on Court TV. And yeah, as many flyers as you can put up, as many people as you can tell, you're right. Get her information out there and reward money. It does. I used to volunteer with one of the Crime Stoppers organizations when I lived in North Carolina, and it's amazing what those money rewards can do. You're right. Manuel Gomez, Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you kindly. We'll continue following the case involving Camila Almos' disappearance. Still ahead here on Opening Statements. Here's what we've got.
As far as the minor children, what were the sleeping arrangements on this cruise?
Brooke was in my room with my husband and his 9-year-old daughter, and then shared a room with his stepsister and stepbrother.
Oh, we're shining a spotlight on the family of Anna Kepner this morning. Remember her? The teenager who was killed on a cruise ship? And her stepbrother is being named as a suspect in family court documents by relatives. But police are still silent. We'll talk about the family dynamics when we come back. And we're talking about accused parent killer, Sarah Grace Patrick. She's set to go to trial soon, but not before a mental health evaluation is done. We'll talk about how it could tip the scales.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
Welcome back. This morning, our spotlight is on the cruise ship homicide of 18-year-old Anna Kepner and what happened after she was discovered dead in her cabin, stuffed underneath her bed. Kepner was sharing the cabin with her 16-year-old stepbrother, referred to as TH, as well as another male sibling. TH is now considered a suspect in her death, according to family court documents. He's also reportedly saying he doesn't remember anything from that night. And newly released text messages are indicating some possible damage control when it comes to his alleged involvement. His mom texting his dad, who was not on the cruise, quote, "I need you to call me ASAP. It's an emergency." Goes on to say, quote, "I was able to talk to him last night for under 2 minutes briefly. He just kept repeating over and over he can't remember anything." The parents are currently in a custody battle, and the mother, Chantel Kepner, said this about the kids in a recent court hearing.
Was she given the option of staying in another room?
All three of the kids were.
Okay. And would that room have been with Grandma and Grandpa?
Correct.
And they didn't want to do that?
No, they wanted to stay together.
Did they all get along?
Yeah, the three of them are like the three amigos. They're best friends.
It's been nearly 2 months since Anna Kepner died. Still, no one has been arrested. Let's talk about this. Let's bring back in forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman and welcome in criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney Casey Early. Good morning to you both. Dr. Carol, let's start with this child not remembering anything or saying that he doesn't remember anything. What do you make of that?
Well, it is possible. Sometimes when people have a big trauma, a big shock, they can have a memory blank for certain aspects. But I think that this is just really just he's just lying. He's just trying to cover up, trying to get suspicion off him. His grandparents have talked about him. His grandfather said that he had demons in his past that he's been trying to deal with. And his grandmother said that he's very quiet. So, it's interesting. There are some emails where they're talking about the kids being in therapy. It's a little hard to parse out who's getting therapy with whom. But in any case, I think that the divorce was a very traumatic event for all of the children. And really not done carefully enough. It seems like it was really a quick kind of, he met her and he moved her into his house, and his father. It just seems really, not to have taken into consideration how the children felt about each other. As, we talked about before, Anna was really afraid of her stepbrother, and did not want to be with him. And so what the stepmother is saying about, three amigos, they wanted to be together. Anna didn't want to be together. It just seemed like that was, they were stuffing them into the same room.
Dr. Carol and Casey, I want to show you both some more text messages. So this is text messages, a series of them between this young man's mom and dad. So mom is Anna Kepner's stepmom now, and so biological father. So it starts with Thomas here saying, okay, I know everything is supposed to be hush-hush for now, but I've seen that it is still getting out with posts and comments between Facebook, TikTok, and stuff. I just want to make sure until things are certain that he doesn't get any unnecessary comments towards him. Goes on to say, I just want him to know that he isn't dead to everyone. Regardless of everything at the moment, he needs his parents. I know you know that. I just would like to have a chance to talk to him as soon as possible. And Chantel responds, we told him that yesterday before they took him. We told him no matter what, you and us are with him. He isn't alone. Okay, Casey, talk to me here as a parent and as an attorney. This is a tough one going on here with these parents and how they're dealing with a 16-year-old child who may have committed a homicide.
Absolutely, and I agree with my colleague, Julie. Stepmom is definitely doing damage control. I literally just got off of a 7-day cruise aboard Carnival Celebration, and I previously sailed Carnival Horizon. Carnival has a policy. As a mother of 4, my oldest son is 20 years old. They have a policy where there must be an adult over the age of 25 in order to be housed with minors. So my husband and I had to get 2 separate rooms, and there had to be an adult in each room. So the reason why stepmom is saying, oh, she wanted to be there is because she probably went against Carnival policy. There's no way that 3 minors should have been there. Also, you knew that your son had these mental issues, and I do not believe that, Anna in this case wanted to be there. I just believe it was convenience because maybe the parents wanted to be together. But as a parent, you sacrifice, you follow rules and procedures because they're in place for a reason. So that has always been my concern, that this could have possibly been prevented had you followed rules and procedures. Also, as a parent aboard Carnival, they gave us access as parents to both rooms so we can check on each other. So this is a tragic situation, but what kind of brings solace on behalf of Anna is the fact that she was baptized May prior to this alleged incident, and she's with her Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But other than that, this, I do believe, could have been prevented knowing what stepmom knew before.
Yes, Casey, I have a clip for you both. This is from one of the previous custody hearings, and here TH's mental health is being discussed. Dr. Carroll, I'll come to you on the other side. Let's take a look.
Mom, immediately after the incident, he was hospitalized, and then when released from the hospital, Mom and Dad participated too. They signed a stipulation basically allowing him to live with Mom's relative, and they're getting counseling and so forth for him.
Makes me wonder what incident they're talking about. Was this a previous incident? Was this the incident that's in question here? Dr. Carroll, your thoughts, if this child was suffering from some mental health difficulties, and obviously we don't have his medical records, we don't know if he was or wasn't, what the extent of them were, if so, you know, how problematic is it that he's being put in a room, you know, with a young lady, not his sibling, a young lady, you know, who's a step sibling, where, you know, anything could happen without parental supervision?
Right, especially when we know the ex-boyfriend of Anna has said and has tried to tell the family that when he was on FaceTime with her, that he saw this stepbrother get on top, and Anna was in bed, he saw the stepbrother get on top of her, and he tried to warn her family. You know, clearly these texts or emails show that the family, or at least the stepmother, is more concerned with protecting her son than she is with Anna. And it is a little disturbing that Anna's father hasn't been more, you know, active in terms of not being willing to protect the stepbrother. I mean, we don't know all the details that go on behind the scenes, but it just seems like you know, remember that the stepmother said that she asked a travel agent when she was deciding like who to put in what room. She asked a travel agent. And obviously, you know, she should have asked a therapist. Like it's obvious. It should have been obvious that you don't put three teenagers, I mean, particularly Anna and her stepbrother, particularly if they would have listened and knew that Anna was afraid of her stepbrother. She used to sleep with other friends' homes sometimes, or she would sleep in the dining room to get away from her stepbrother. So putting her in a room with him, and then also not locking out the younger brother, her real brother, you know, all of this, it was such an obvious recipe for disaster. It's so sad that all of this happened.
Mm-hmm. You're so right. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing, Dr. Carroll, a recipe for disaster. This beautiful young lady should be with us today, and we're going to continue following the case of Anna Kepner's death and report any updates here. Dr. Carroll Lieberman, thank you so much. Casey, earlier coming along with us. Friends at home, do the same, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
Sarah has a huge heart. She is loving, protective, and deeply rooted in her faith. Hurting someone simply isn't in her nature or character.
Could Sarah Grace Patrick's mental health evaluation affect what happens in her upcoming trial? It's set to go in January. We'll talk about it with our legal eagles next.
This is the Court TV podcast.
Welcome back. The trial of teenager Sarah Grace Patrick is set to begin on January 5th. Patrick is accused of murdering her mother and her stepfather last February in their North Georgia home. Her defense team is still waiting on a written report from a forensic neurologist who spoke with Patrick back in August. Once the report is turned over, the state will then need some time to review it and decide whether to consult with their own expert. Now, before we talk about that evaluation, here's the background of the case. Court TV anchor Ted Rowlands reports.
When James and Kristen Brock were shot and killed in their bed in the middle of the night last February, everybody in their rural Georgia community was shocked. Kristen's then 16-year-old daughter, who called 911 after her 5-year-old half-sister found the bodies, took to TikTok to express her grief, even reaching out to podcasters to raise awareness of the unsolved murder.
She messaged me back on June 3rd and just said, search up Brock case. So I said, Brock Turner? Brock who? She said, Kristen and James Brock. They're my parents. And out of nowhere, a random Thursday night in February, someone came in my house with me and my 5-year-old sister, and my parents left them for me and my little sister to wake up to.
To some, Sarah Grace appeared to be the grieving daughter trying to solve this senseless crime. But to others, including some members of her stepdad's family, her tearful eulogy didn't feel sincere.
I just wanted to say goodbye to my mom and James since we never got the chance to. I was so used to you guys always being here to the point that I never once thought to imagine y'all not being here.
5 months after the violent deaths of Kristen and James Brock, Sarah Grace Patrick, accompanied by her father, turned herself in on charges of murder and aggravated assault.
Mountains of evidence has gotten us through here today. Lots of processing, lots of working with our law enforcement partners to get us to where we are today that honed in on her as a suspect.
Sarah Grace is charged as an adult with malice and felony murder and aggravated assault. She could face life in prison without parole if convicted of murder.
Ted Rowland's reporting there. Now let's focus in on Sarah Patrick's age and her actions after her parents' deaths. Could this evaluation by the forensic neurologist that the defense team had done tip the scales of justice for her? And let's talk about whether it could hold up the trial set to go next week. Let's bring in Kesia Early and Josh Markey, our legal eagles on this case. Okay, and both of you have had different areas of practice. Kesia does criminal defense work, and Josh, you were a longtime district attorney, retired now. So I want you to both help me and kind of look at this from both sides. So the defense side, Kesia, they're doing this. Why? What's the goal for the defense team here?
Mitigate, mitigate, mitigate. And oftentimes when the evidence is overwhelming, we do continue to prepare for trial with the idea that maybe with this evaluation report, this can be mitigation necessary to possibly resolve it. Because prosecutors typically won't resolve a case when the evidence is overwhelming, when the victim's family want justice in the form of a conviction. But then when you present this package that maybe she was dealing with some mental illness or other reasons, I always say motive is not a required or necessary element, but it helps connect the dots. So if we know the element or the relationship with her parents, if we know that she was dealing with some type of mental illness, there could be a possibility for resolution. Because again, going through this trial, autopsy reports, testimony, evidence, sometimes the family just want closure in the form of getting this case resolved. So having this evaluation definitely will be a positive impact in hopefully getting a resolution and getting a better deal.
Sure. Kesia, thank you for that. Now, looking at it from the perspective of the prosecutors, they're still waiting on this report from the evaluation done in August. Trial set for January 5th. Josh Markey, it just doesn't seem fair to the state. Talk to us about that, please.
Well, it's not really supposed to be fair to the state. I mean, the purpose of a criminal trial, although it is to provide closure for the community and for the victims, is to provide the defendant a fair trial. When you have an underage defendant, she's 17. Georgia is a state where 17-year-olds can face the possibility of adult crimes. Different states have different rules. But we need to remember that one of the things the defense is doing that I think is very smart is they're demanding speedy trial. The trial is scheduled to start on January 5th, next week, I think. And the public generally knows absolutely nothing. Most of the stories on court TV have been like the grandfather saying, well, all the cops have told me is that I think that, she was the only one in the room. If that's all the state has, they have a very, very weak case. But I suspect it's not. And as a prosecutor, frankly, you don't worry about trying your case in the media. You worry about trying your case in the courtroom. So we haven't really, the only thing we're getting a picture of is the very rational attempt by the defense at this point to say, okay, this is a child, maybe she has mental illness. And it's interesting to see the different photographs we've seen of this young woman. The ones that we saw on social media, she looked like a young adult. When we see her in court, and as we see her here, she's wearing pigtails. She looks like she's 13 or 14.
Yes, yes. Josh, going back to your point about trying the case in the courtroom, do you think these prosecutors are going to ask for a continuance?
Well, they really can't without a defendant is entitled to a speedy trial, and not to reach too far back. But first time I appeared on court TV was in 1994 in the O.J. Simpson case. And one of the brilliant things, I don't think Simpson's lawyers were that brilliant, but what they did is they said, we want our speedy trial. And speedy trial is a constitutionally guaranteed right in this country. And unless the state has, and I assume they do, a lot more evidence than we're hearing about, then they're basically going to be forced to go to trial next week. You only have one shot as a prosecutor to try a case.
Yes, I'm understanding that, but I think maybe I'm not asking the question clearly enough. With respect to getting this report, if you get something dumped in your lap on the day of trial that's discoverable, the rules of fairness will say, now, wait a minute, who is the side that caused this? Casey, I think you see where I'm going with this. Do you expect, if this defense team gets the report to them, you know, today or tomorrow, would you expect they're going to say to the judge on Monday, hey, judge, you know, we need a little time here?
I do, but my concern is, why is it taking so long? I've done so many mental evaluations, and I've also filed demand for speedy. So if there is a trial strategy for the prosecution, they can have a good faith basis to ask for an extension, because if this report comes back favorable to the defendant, then they may want time to not only review the report, but get their rebuttal expert witness to testify contrary to what is in the report. But as my colleague stated, that is the best defense tactic for any defense attorney. You prepare from the onset. That's how I get most of my trials ready. I file a demand for speedy, because now you're putting that time clock against the prosecution. And oftentimes cases like this, these are very difficult cases to prepare. You got to gather all your witnesses. So the defense is doing this, in my opinion, strategic. But I do believe that the state will have the opportunity to at least ask for a good faith continuance if this report is contrary to what, and they need more time to prepare.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at, Casey. Because they can assert the right to speedy trial, which she has, certainly, and it's smart. I agree with you both. The defense is doing exactly what they should be doing. They're doing a great job with this young lady on these tough facts. However, the rules of fairness, will say, well, if you're causing this delay, you can't say, oh, give me my speedy trial, but yet, cause something that would be fundamentally unfair to the other side. So I suppose we'll see on Monday. Currently, it's on the docket. So we'll see what happens Monday morning. Our cameras will be ready to go for this one. Appreciate you both weighing in. Casey Early, Josh Marquis, thank you both so much. We're going to hit a break, as that is all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.